We grew up on mixtapes and neon
Hey
lights,
there, everybody.
dreamed
It is
of
the
a world
GlobeTrotting
where
Trio, or I'll say duo. My name is Amy.
I'm Shelley.
We are missing Tammy, which is what makes us a duo. But you know what? We are going to be here to, and you know what? She'll be back next week, so it'll be
She
fine,
will
right?
be.
She will be
Yeah.
fine. That's all right. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this from broke to balanced.
Mhm.
Now, before we do anything, before we talk about any of the fun stuff, like the time freedom and the building businesses and whatever, tell us what does it mean to be balanced, Michelle?
Mhm. So I have two definitions, and I'm going to
Okay,
compare them for us. So the first one is an even distribution of weight, enabling someone or something to remain upright and steady.
I like that.
Okay, kind of sounds like what we all achieve for, right? To be
Yeah.
upright and steady and have all of our stuff in a row. However, this is the one that I like even more because this is where I feel like I live. Keep or put something in a steady position so it does not fall. That sounds more to me like life
Mhm.
than everything enabling and keeping it upright and equal and steady and all that. I definitely put things in a position so they don't fall all the time. That's balanced to me.
Yes. So almost like the in the circus where whenever you go to the Shriner Circus or whatever, and they have the big sticks and the plates,
Yes, and the
they
plates.
spin. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
That's
that's
what I
it.
feel like life is.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like that might be it. So that's kind of that chaos that happens, right? Or maybe we get a little overwhelmed because everything always seems to hit all at once. And we keep
Mhm.
asking, why is this happening? Why are we hitting everything at once? And then we realize it's because we're inviting everything to hit at once, that maybe we should just say, you
Ooh,
know what?
ouch.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's me. That's me. I have those realizations sometimes just a little bit too late, but it happens. It happens. But sometimes whenever we get to that point where we've got all of the plates up in the air and we're balancing them all out and trying to figure it out, we all get overwhelmed or we get burnt out. And that's the thing. Whenever you first start, or before you find your purpose or your direction in life, I feel like that's really what it is that we're not
Mhm.
right where we're supposed to be. So maybe that's why we get burnt out and we move on to the next thing, right?
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that?
I like that. I have to think on that, do some consideration of that. But I think you have a point because sometimes it's like you said, we're in the wrong place at the wrong time,
Hmm.
and we have to accept that. We have to recognize that, and maybe do something else. Other times it's self-inflicted.
Hmm.
Maybe we are in the right place, and it is the right time, but we're not asking for the right help, or we're not allowing the right people to come in and work alongside of us, or we're unwilling to relinquish some of that control like we talked about on our last episode. So there's a lot of different variables there, but yeah, we have a lot of control over that.
Hmm. So if you think about it, if we had the time freedom, it's because we were more intentional with our time, which is
Mhm.
something that we both have said that we need. We need to be more intentional. You need to have the no time, and I need to be able to allow others to do things. But you also guided me in the fact that I need to help people become who they need to become to be able to take the tasks that I need to give away.
Yes.
So I like that too. So that's kind of that alignment, right? We feel like we need to be aligned with everything. Now,
Mhm.
if we were to look, so that was balanced, being balanced. Now let's look at what broke really means. Now, does broke mean we have not a penny to our name? Does
It
broke
could.
mean does broke mean we don't have time?
It can.
Does broke mean that we are completely busy all the time, but we don't take time for ourselves?
It can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, how about feeling guilty for saying no?
Mm. I'm not going to be broke in that department this year.
But you were last year, so that's the
I
reason
was
why I
last
brought that
year.
one up. That's the way I brought that one up. How about working for on survival mode constantly? Like we're just trying to survive this day to get to the next. Now, I don't do that so much anymore because of the way that this business has been
Mhm.
built and all of that. But I will say, whenever I was still in education, and before that, whenever I worked in insurance for years and years and in management, I felt like um, that was my life, you
Mhm.
know, just surviving to the next day. And you would always say, "Oh my gosh, if it's a Friday yet, is it Friday yet?" And then Sunday, you're like, "Oh my gosh, it's Sunday. I don't want to
Right?
go to work tomorrow. What am I supposed to do? Oh my gosh, when's the next 3-day weekend?" Right? Tell me what ones of those. Actually, let me throw one more in there.
Oh, okay.
Think of this. Would broke be that we're allowing other people to control our schedule and our time?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I laugh because as you're talking about, hey, broke can be not what that can't wait for Friday and it's only Monday and Sunday. You're like,
Hmm.
oh, why is it can't be Monday, right? I never had that. I had a career that I absolutely loved. Like I loved going to work. I enjoyed what I did. And, I thought I was like at the pinnacle of my career because I somewhat, quote
Hmm.
unquote, somewhat got to control my time. So if I needed to be home for a 3:30 ball game, I could work late the day before. I could leave my house at 5 a.m. and be in a salon 3 hours away at 8 a.m. because my drive time was included in my day. But somebody else still made sure I was clocking no less than like 50 hours a week. I was supposed to be 40. It was more like 50. Somebody else told me when I could not see my grandchildren. Somebody else told me when they would not approve my time off. Um, that's still broke when it comes to, a job. For me, that's still
Right.
broke.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want somebody controlling that time.
Right. That's why I feel like if we're going to consider time freedom and intentional time blocking and are aligning our goals with whatever, or what we're becoming and blah blah, then that is definitely a huge part of being broke is just not being able to control our own time. Now, one of the things that I will say, and you brought it up right there, is whenever my kids were little, working full time, trying to put in time so that you could get to where they needed to be, or things like this today. Not today, just in general. If there was a day that my kids said, "Hey, I've got a Christmas party at school," or "I've got a thing. I'm an award ceremony first thing in the morning," I would have to talk to my boss to see if I could take the time off, which is really hard when you're a teacher because you would have to find somebody to sub for your
Sure.
class. And that was a whole hot mess and all of that kind of thing. So those in general, I feel like those were things that I struggled with quite a bit because I always felt the guilt of not being able, that was my guilt of saying no. I know I can't show up for your event today, or
Mhm.
no, I can't be in the school because of, and I don't know why I'd feel guilty not being able to go to a job because my kids were only going to have me for 18 years and then they'd
Right.
go off and live their own life.
But Amy, when we were in that, when you're in that mode, and there's so many, parents that are there now, they still have kids at home. They're still in that mode. But if you're anything like I was then, like that was just life. Like you
Uh-huh.
just figured it out. You just got through it. You just said, okay, this is what we have to do. This is normal.
Right,
It wasn't until now that we look back and go, but it didn't have to be our normal. We just
right,
didn't know different.
right, right. I wish I would have known that a long time ago.
Yeah.
So, what was the turning point though, whenever you realized that, you know what, I'm not broke anymore, I am balanced?
Hmm.
Could you pinpoint anything?
Hmm. So I would say for me, it was the day that I got the calendar invite when I was in a salon and we had to get on a company-wide broadcast and was told they were shutting the doors, like they were closing and or selling every single location, and over 290 of us didn't have a job. Right then, something told me like, okay, okay. After I cried,
Of course.
But
Yes.
that was the turning point, right? That was the moment that changed everything for me because I thought, okay, well, they just did for me what I wouldn't have done for myself. So
Hmm.
now I get to choose what my life looks like. I wish I hadn't waited so long. Like our kids were grown. What was I waiting for? But
Grandbabies.
I did enjoy what I did.
Yeah.
And I mean, come on, my dad worked for 35 years at the same place.
Right.
That's what I thought life was. I got to learn that doesn't have to be it. So that was my turning point. What about you?
My turning point was so when I started this business, remember I wasn't really necessarily starting it as a career change. I was just
Mhm.
doing it as something I wanted to do just to be able to travel just a little bit more. So mine was whenever, and much like you, I had a career change. They though did not get us on a company-wide or a school-wide call. They just sent out an email on a Friday afternoon right before the break so that they wouldn't have to deal with any of the questions or backlash, so to speak, from the employees. They did it kind of nefariously.
Mm.
That was the day that I knew that I needed something more. That was the day I cried probably every day for a solid week and a half, 2 weeks, and realized that I was allowing my self-worth to be tied to a position and it shouldn't be. And
Mm.
it
Ooh.
was tied, my self-worth was tied to
Mhm.
all kinds of things that it shouldn't be. And then I realized that I had something right in my hands that I could make that change. So that is definitely the turning point. That was where it was. For me, that was the definite turning point. Now, it didn't start immediately. I did go through the rest of that school year working at that same school.
Well,
And it was at the end of that school year that I realized that I didn't have to work there anymore. So I was able to turn in my notice and this job, this not job, this career that I have now. This business is actually what took me from being broke because I was shattered. I was so broke. I allowed my self-worth to be dragged through the mud for something um, that I allowed people to control how I felt about me, and I shouldn't have. And then here I am today because I realized at the end of that school year that I didn't have to. I didn't have to. I didn't have to. I could just be balanced, and that's exactly what I was. So June 2023, that's whenever I got balanced.
nice.
Yes.
Nice. I love it. But I think there's something in your journey that like I don't want to miss. I don't want to pass up. So you said, you realized it then, but you didn't leave right then, right?
Right.
It took some time. And for many people, doing network marketing, having a travel business, it's some people for a lot of people, it's not instant. There's
Right.
things in that you in your life that you have to change, develop, prep to be able to say, okay, I'm all in, I'm 100%. My business is what I want it to be now. We're headed in the right direction.
Right.
Other people come in and they're like, I'm done. And a month later, you're like, dang, where'd they go? Like they're, already off and going and there's no slowing them. And either option is okay. It just depends on where you're at in life.
Hmm.
Um, but for many of us, it is the side gig, the extra, the whatever we call it, whatever label you put on it, um,
Right.
until our life is aligned with being ready to make that change. But you have to be willing to take the small steps to make the big step.
Yes. Yes, because it did take a lot. And whenever I first started, I did this kind of when I wanted to. It was just a play around for the first couple of
Mhm.
years, and then it got a little bit serious whenever I started realizing that I could make some money. And then whenever I decided in June of 23 that that was it, I turned in my notice, and this is where I was going, and I decided to move forward. Um, that was whenever I realized that I needed to be very intentional about everything that I was doing. So.
Mhm.
Um, we of course want to protect our time. We want to protect our family time and all of that. And we talked a little bit about that last week whenever we were talking about the things that we wanted to move into 2026 with. So Think about this, being present with your family. How does that look different now than it did whenever you worked a
I'm
corporate
really
job?
present. I'm really present.
Yes.
So when my kids were younger and I was working as a district sales manager, I was on call from 8 a.m.
Hmm.
until 9:30 at night, 6 days a week, and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sundays. I didn't have to be in the salons, but if there was an emergency, if somebody didn't show up, if there was a plumbing issue, whatever,
Hmm.
it was me. If there was an HR issue, it was me. A maintenance issue, it was me. An ordering issue, it was me. Like I was required to be near my phone. So my kids, there were times that they didn't feel like, especially in the beginning, they didn't feel like mom is like really paying attention, that like she has to have her phone here. As they got older and I got more skilled in my job, I had trained the right people to be in the right positions to delegate the right tasks that took some of that off of my plate. So
Yeah.
then I could be a little more present, but I still had to have my cell phone.
Right.
I can leave my cell phone in my kitchen. I can leave it next to the bed. I can go about my whole day and be with my people if I need to and when I need to.
Right.
And there's other days that I can't. I have to be on my phone or my computer and I can tell them, hey, today's a work day. That's what it is.
Right.
So,
Yes, and we can schedule our time and do what we want to do when we want to do. One of the things that I like to do is, making memories one trip at a time, but we can make memories
mhm.
instead of making excuses for our families. That's huge. Because how
Yeah.
many times, like I said, I had to tell my kids, I can't come to your school event, or I can't this, or I can't that
Mhm.
because I had to do this. We can't find somebody to cover my classroom, or, whatever. Even before that, whenever I worked in insurance and big, I have a
Mhm.
big meeting, I'm sorry, I can't. They won't let me off, or it's too far away from whatever. I don't have to make those excuses and I don't have to make
Right.
those for my grandbabies. And I love the fact that I get to do what I want to do when I want to do it because I can build my schedule out to do that. One of the biggest things I like to say is that we have the ability to make our businesses enhance our lives
Mm.
instead of replace things,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um, because we always traded time for money back then. Well, we're still trading time for money, but our time is traded differently now,
Right.
which is huge.
Mhm.
Now, if you were to say something like balance is not perfect, it's very intentional, what would you take that away as? What would you say? What would
Well, I
what,
think
what
as
would
a
that resonate?
society,
Hmm.
we talk about, work-life balance. You have to, have like so much attention and work here, so hours here, and you have to have so much attention and hours here, and you have to do this. That's not that's not balance to me. So for me, part of this job allows me my definitive balance is when my family needs attention, I'm able to give that. When my business needs attention, I'm able to give that. When I need my friends, maybe I'm selfishly need time with my friends, right? Need to go on a cruise with my friends.
Uh-huh.
I can do that. So the time that I do those tasks isn't going to be equal. It's not going to be 33, 33, 34%, right? That's never happening in life. It's unrealistic. And society tells us we need to be balanced. That's just dumb pressure. Like it's stupid. It's never going to happen.
Right.
When you're, I mean, at different stages of your life, your time is spent in different places. But my balance is that I get to choose what that is.
Right.
I get to say, yep, this is where I'm spending my time today or this week. Or next year, when we go on a 3 week cruise, I get to say where I'm spending my time for 3 weeks.
There you go. I
So,
like it. I will say that work-life balance looks a little different to me, and intentional work-life balance looks a little different to me because I get to take the time throughout the day that I want to. If I was
mm,
at a job, I would have to go report at 8 o'clock well, actually 7:30 in the morning or 7:20, depending on what school district I was at, and work until 3:30 or 4 every day. And I couldn't say, you know what, I'm just going to go skip out for an hour or two and come
right.
back. Now my intentional is if I want to go spend time with Andrew because he's sitting in the living room and he has some downtime from his job, I can go do that. I can walk out of my office and go spend time with him. If I want
Babe,
to get
you
in the
can go
car
to the bathroom when you need
anytime
to,
I want to.
not between
Yeah.
bells when you have 4 minute passing periods. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Uh-huh.
kudos to all the teachers out there listening, because every time I sub, it's inevitable. At least one point in the day, I'm like, man, I really need to go to the bathroom and I can't leave these sixth graders.
Uh-huh.
I love it when I'm with my high schoolers and I'm like, guys, I'm running across the hall going to the bathroom. Stay in this room. Don't you make any problems, because I'll know it when I come back. So stay put. And they're like, okay. Kudos to the
Yes.
teachers who have to hold it every day.
And they all appreciate that. They do. So I will say this, that peace is definitely a different part of this too. So we
Mm,
have gone from broke to more balanced to now we just have that
mm,
peace that what we have built our lives to be are kind of right where they're supposed to be and headed in the right direction for the purpose that we have. We have the purpose of helping people. Both of us do. I'm assuming you do too. We have the purpose of doing better for our families and leaving that legacy. We have the purpose of doing what's best at this moment and everything that we do in the future to help people. Um, that in and of itself is a huge thing for me.
mhm.
Like I said, I worked in insurance for a lot of years, and it was the disability insurance or life insurance kind of thing. And you always think, I have to have life insurance, I have to this, I have to have that. Um, no, we just needed a business that was going to be able to live beyond us. And that's what we've created right here. All right. So, do you have any other thoughts about balanced?
No, I think I
No,
shared my thoughts a lot about balanced.
I do. I do.
Balanced is a false word.
I think it's not necessarily a false word. I think it has different meanings for different people.
That's true. I'll give
Yeah.
you that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
So I,
but I'm saying if balanced was a real word, was an honest word, my weight would be where it was 20 years ago. I'd be balanced there. It's not balanced.
but when you stand up, you're still upright. So you're
Ah,
balanced.
I am. Okay. All right, I'll
So
give you that one.
yeah, there you go. There
We
you
came
go.
full circle.
Full circle. All right, guys, let's just say this. If you've enjoyed today's episode and you want to learn more, be sure to hit that like and follow us button so that you can join in on all of our adventures. And as always, thank you for riding along with us on this wild and beautiful journey. Until next time, keep exploring, everybody. Bye
Share,
bye.